Welcome back to the next episode of Sober Orange Couch. I am Rory T. I am happy to be back and more sober than yesterday. And today I've got some interesting topics. It's with sadness that today in Houston there was a major multiple fatality accident on one of our major freeways here. About 2 in the morning, I believe. I could get that timing right. Or I could get that timing wrong, excuse me. And it was a wrong way driver on a freeway. The driver who was on the wrong way was believed to be intoxicated and was 22 years old. And I believe the driver of the other vehicle, when they were in a high-speed collision head-on, also passed. And he was just leaving a late-night shift, sober. So, man, it's a sensitive subject. It's a tough subject. You know, for me, it sucks to hear stories of drinking and driving because when we're drinking, what gives us the idea that we're invincible? This idea that no, I'm fine, I can drive. I know it's a chemical reaction in there, but it goes beyond just getting behind the wheel. For me, what makes me think that I'm better than everyone else when I'm drinking? What makes me think that I know everything? I don't. And alcohol changes me. It tricks my mind into believing things that I shouldn't. And my heart goes out to all the families involved in the 2 fatalities here, and it's just sickening, and it really scares the living bejesus out of me. Yes, bejesus is a word. But with that, it kind of goes into a topic I like to share that I got from a meeting last night from a good friend of mine, and who actually led the meeting and asked me to co-chair the meeting. It was my first time co-chairing a meeting in person, and I wasn't scared at all. I know that sounds kind of stupid, but I was in front of 40 people, 40 to 50 people actually. Some latecomers trickled in, and it was kind of empowering. Not in a way that, oh, look at me, I'm sitting up front and I'm better than you. It was nothing like that. It was just it was empowering to be able to look into everyone's faces while talking, which is actually kind of like Zoom meetings, like all the Zoom meetings that I like to do every evening. And the meeting last night was on expectations, and what expectations look like to me prior to getting sober as well as after getting treatment are so drastically different as you would expect. Prior to being sober, my expectation was to wake up and drink and make sure nobody knew and cover my tracks. And it was with these ideas that really coincides with us alcoholics that we spend so much effort and energy in focusing on the next drink, focusing on when we want to be truthful or not. Now, obviously, we're not all created equal because every alcoholic's different, but we're all alike in the same way that we knew at some point we couldn't handle it. The expectation, when I look back on them, are mind-boggling. I expected people to expect me to be drunk or to be drinking. Maybe not drunk, because 75% of the people didn't even realize I had been drinking. And that was all part of the game, as I know it is for a lot of people. Getting your next drink, planning your next drink. How am I going to get it? How am I going to hide it? It was all a twisted game of drinking. And the expectation was to never get caught. The expectation was to never get in trouble. The expectation was was simple. The expectation was I'm going to wake up and figure out how I'm going to drink today. That is how my mind treated itself for almost 24 years. As I said in my last podcast, I've got 12 years of trying to get sober, in and out of AA rooms, in and out of IOP treatments, PHP treatments, and last year I was in a residential treatment. And it's not easy to talk about these things, but it is quite freeing because I know what I say here hopefully has an impact on one of you as well. Now, my expectations after my first couple rounds of treatment were, this is bullshit, and I'm just going to tick off some boxes so that people see I'm getting better. And as the storm passes, I'll connive my way into drinking again. Truly believed after residential treatment last year that something in me changed. But that little guy up there that missed his alcohol, he kept his way in there. And I couldn't get him out. But that's also because I wasn't doing anything after treatment. I literally got home from treatment, got to spend 24 hours with my kids, and got to have a so-so conversation with the wife. And we were on a plane the next day off to Scotland, where there's no such thing as drinking there. I did actually expect, I should say, that was going to be extremely difficult. Going there for a family wedding, everyone in my family drinks. Everyone on the bride's side has drinks. It's a younger crowd. And it wasn't hard at first, but I attribute that to just getting out of residential treatment. Because first and foremost, I'll talk about this in a later episode, but residential treatment is prison, whether it's good or bad. I had a good experience, but it's still a prison. But as time went on, I slowly got to 8.5 months sobriety, and I just expected to stay sober. The expectation was so easy. Oh, I'm not going to drink, right? And it's simple. I'm not going to talk to anybody about it. I'm going to try not to think about it. And then one little life blip, and I hopped on a plane and went on a 4-day bender out of nowhere. At the end of that bender, it was sad because I would wake up in the morning and I would be like, I can't believe I'm doing this. This is so stupid. And I have that first drink, and guess what? Doesn't matter anymore. I am back to being me. I am back, baby. We are back. It's exactly what it feels like. It feels so good. But ultimately, as soon as I got home, I came clean. Mostly because I pretty much got caught. I broke my ribs, and I had no choice but to come clean. From there, I started AA meetings the next evening, and that was really it. But I didn't truly want to quit. Still, even after all this time, 11 years, it's so exhausting thinking about the effort I put into expecting just to have people forget over time about my mistakes. Because like a lot of us alcoholics, we literally can look so fine on the outside, but on the inside, man, aren't we bubbling? We are bubbling, burning up. Ooh, my hairs are raised right now. My hairs are raised just because I'm thinking about it right now. It sucks. But that's, again, that's all part of this process. And for 30 days, I yet again expected just to stay sober just by going to Zoom meetings. Now, I had a lot of outside chatter from people who have been sober, from family, friends, getting me in contact with them. And, I still had that shame feeling. And like a lot of us do, and I didn't want to talk about it. But in the end, I relapsed again. except this time it was less than 24 hours. And that was the first time in my life I experienced the progressiveness of alcoholism. It only took 12 years, but from drinking every day since Lord I can remember, with maybe a day or two here and there, besides my random bouts of sobriety. And one day I managed to upend my life, and it just got messy. I'm thankful that people in my life were able to talk to me in a calm manner. Took me away for a couple nights just to help me clear my mind. And I started treatment yet again. And don't get me wrong, that first day was the same crap. I'm not going to talk. I don't want to be here. But then something in my head just switched that you can see in the rooms. Every now and then you see that one person who something just, bing, just clicks. And for me, it was pretty much at the end of day one of this most recent treatment session. And I decided I wasn't going to let anyone else make me feel any sort of way. I wanted to feel my way. And it was also the first time in 12 years I said to myself quietly, I got a problem. And boy, do I have a problem. And talking about it was really freeing. It was liberating. And sure, you're in a room with people you don't know, but who gives a fuck? Literally. So I kept with that notion that I don't care what anyone thinks. And I'm going to talk about what's happened to me, what I've been through, why I'm here. And that's when my expectations changed to, okay, I expect to stay sober because I'm going to these meetings, because I'm talking about my issues. I'm not afraid to speak how I feel, because those are all things I gather. And like most of us, we all have our own things of own ways of dealing with things. And for me, not talking was almost like my kryptonite. But the alcohol just calmed me, soothed me, made me believe things were perfect. When you don't judge a book by its cover, but sure as hell weren't perfect in my life. So the expectation is simple now. It's go to a meeting, or for whatever you do to help keep you sober, don't be afraid to talk about it. Don't be afraid to be involved, because there's one thing I know now, and that's I can expect to be around people that have the same problem as I do, the same disease, whatever you want to call it. Disease, not a disease, alcoholism, not alcoholism, can't drink, retired, because I'm retired. That's the way I like to say it. That we love to talk now. And when you meet somebody like me that loves to talk, it feels so good. It's just a breath of fresh air. So yes, my expectations have drastically changed. And I don't know how I'd still be sober without it, because it was getting ugly. And like most of us, it sometimes takes a while. It took me 12 years. But I'm here now, man. And I'm more sober than yesterday. That is the motto today. I'm happy to be sober. I love the fact that I can do things and not wake up and be like, what the fuck happened last night? Like the ultimate thing that went through my head every morning of every day. And that's the idea behind this podcast. to talk about it in a non-AA setting, in a non-treatment setting, in a way that we can connect to each other. And if you're curious about getting help, or if you're just curious about AA, or curious about what it's like to be sober, that's what I'm here for. That's why I'm doing this. Yes, this is ultimately for me because God, it feels good to talk about it. But it's also for you who's just teetering on the edge, just thinking, should I not? You got questions, just ask me. I'm an open book. And man, I'm happy I am.